Hey everybody, I wanted to make this special message just before our episode next up to celebrate and commemorate because this is actually our 100th episode of the Popcorn Watchlist podcast. I'm in complete surprise, but still very grateful for us having gotten to 100 episodes, and I'm really grateful to have done it with my fellow panelists, Danny, Zach, and Anthony. I know we've talked a lot about some of our favorites in TV and film, but it's been a great journey and a great ride, and I can't wait to continue to see what else we get to talk about next.
Yeah, 100 episodes is a lot. Even though I missed the first two, I came on, I think, the third episode. 100 is still a lot, and I've been there for almost all of them, and it's really cool that we've been doing this now for just over 2 years. It's pretty crazy.
I'm just glad we get to spend all this time talking about movies together, and me and Zach definitely have gotten to see a bunch of new movies that we've had in our catalog, but just glad we're able to recommend movies and just be able to discuss together. So thank you.
Woo! 100 episodes, baby! Thanks everyone for listening and watching, and we'll be very glad to continue as long as you want us to.
Welcome everybody to a special episode of the Popcorn Watchlist podcast where we discuss and celebrate our favorites in TV and film. I am your host Xavier, and today especially I am super excited to discuss this particular movie with my fellow Popcorn Watchlist panelists. Anthony, what movie are we talking about today?
You're talking about Dune Part.
I instantly regret that. No, I'm kidding. Thank you. If you did not get the hint, yeah, we're talking about Dune Part 2. I know all of us have been, just like probably a lot of people after seeing Part 1, have been really excited to see how Denis Villeneuve goes and concludes his telling of the first book written by Frank Herbert back in published in the 60s. So it's also, mentioned from the intro we did, it's our 100th episode, so it's pretty exciting to talk about. We all got to see it in various different theaters. I know Danny and Zach, you guys watched it. Where'd you guys watch it first?
Limax.
In full Limax.
And then for my second viewing, I saw it in a standard viewing, and
it's like that's like when they that one scene where they're harvesting the water off the Harkonnens. There's like, it's dirty water.
It's dirty water.
Good to clean the suits.
It was
dirty experience.
It was very quiet. Very quiet.
But like, was it full? Like, were there people in the theater?
It was like a half.
Did you go like at 2 p.m.? What happened there?
Empty or half full?
It was like 8 p.m., but it was the same time as an IMAX screening.
Oh, right.
So there you go.
Yeah, premium format it is.
Yeah.
I know that's regrettable that you had to watch it in, doo-doo regular. But at the same time, if you can, and you're able to do it in a regular showing, I mean...
But at least it wasn't my first viewing.
That's true.
Because definitely that first viewing has to be in a premium format. Whether it's IMAX or Dolby.
This is very true, right, Anthony?
Yes.
Where did we go watch it?
We watched it in Fort Lauderdale, AutoNation IMAX.
The true IMAX. The way the Lisan Al-Gaib has foretold it should be seen in.
It was written for us to see this movie in that theater.
It was foretold. Some stupid prophecy about watching movies in a big old screen. No, but the sound was out of hand too. Like, I think, at least with the Limax, like the sound, I think is still going to be pretty high up there. But
I mean, compared to Dolby, I can't remember what the Limax was like sound wise.
Yeah, right.
Which is
Final plot twist was what happened, Danny? Yeah.
Zach and I saw it in Dolby, and just the sound was crazy.
Yeah, I think we were all together watching our collectively second or third showing for you and Danny. We saw it in Dolby, And it was nice to see an opening message from the director saying, like talking about just premium formats in general, that based off of the way the movie shot and the mix into with the sound, both the effects and the score, that Dolby, the sound within a Dolby theater is kind of like the premium and like what they kind of true to what he intended. So that was nice to see, and it was definitely appreciated. I think there was a certain point where the sound was very close, although different acoustics, to what Anthony experienced in IMAX.
Yeah. All I know is that visually, the IMAX was fantastic as usual. I believe over 45 minutes of this movie is the full entire screen. And the sound, I mean, yeah, I went to Dolby and it was very good, but I felt like the entire movie in IMAX, I felt like I was in 40X, poked in the back, but just like throughout the whole movie, kind of just like my seat rumbling the whole time with what are the ships called? The
glorious sounds.
The ornithopters.
Oh, the ornithopters.
Yeah, anytime there was an ornithopter, my butt was shaking. Like it was some crazy vibrations going on in that theater. But yeah, it was
were
very
they some
cool.
good vibrations?
Very good. Like I thought Mark Wahlberg was in this movie. That's how good it was.
With the funky bunch. Hey Paul, man, you're looking kind of blue in the eyes there, man. You doing all right? You got that present visions? All right, cool. Say hi to your mother for me, okay? I had to. I just had to.
Yeah, definitely and then of course like the worm riding scene in both Dolby and IMAX was incredible. It's just visually stunning and the sound is insane.
Full disclosure, we will be going into spoilers for a almost 60-year-old book. No, I'm kidding. For a very recently released film. So again, if you're seeing episode 100, Dune Part 2, know that this will be pretty much discussing major plot points as well as how we found the movie to be made and presented. So just full disclosure.
So we're going to go through a couple of the main sequences, some main points that we want to talk about. And then we're also going into some of the like Easter eggs and good moments and characters later on. But to start it off, what about that opening sequence?
I mean, it starts almost immediately after the end of the first one. So when we get this at home, or there's a double feature science fiction's gonna happen, that'd be pretty dope to get them to see them back to back.
Like as soon as it ends, just start the next one.
Yeah, I mean, depending on what's going on, it would be great to see theaters do that. But anyway, that opening sequence they're just kind of going through Paul, Jessica, now with the Fremen, led by Stilgar. You have Chani, who is actually there from the end of the first movie. Just after that duel with Jamis, they're just getting to where they need to go, but they get ambushed by some Harkonnen troops, and this whole sequence is awesome. Like the way it's shot, like the use of like sound, but also a bit of silence. It was just incredible stuff. I don't know, like just you get more of like floaty spacesuits, which we got from a couple of things happening in the first movie. So it's like, again, there's attention to detail with the way Denis went and shot these like action sequences, and it's done really well. Like it was so cool, like how they got the Fremen got the Harkonnen troops to just go to one location where they can just get picked off because because they got lured away from the thumpers, and they're just freaking out like, oh, look for the worms. All right, cool, we're totally okay, and immediately just gets rocked.
I mean, leading up to that point, once they're up at the top, it just gets dead silent, the movie. And this movie does a good job of balancing, like, obviously, like, very loud action sequences and the score behind, but then also moments like this where it's just dead silent.
They do it a lot.
Yeah, but it's, like, done so well. Like, you're just, like, on edge, like, what's happening?
Yeah, dude, it's great, and
then the guy gets sniped.
Yeah, and like everybody starts dropping from on the floor, and I think that's again from the silence, and then you just thud. Like that's like jarring for everyone, even for the main characters too. Like Paul and Jessica are hiding, and they just see Harkonnen troops drop from way up high, and it's like it's startling to them, and it's very effective.
I'm surprised those thuds weren't loud enough to make a worm come. Yeah, it was pretty.
Because it was probably like at an irregular.
Yeah, they weren't in rhythm.
Yeah, it wasn't in rhythm.
They're killing them off rhythm. That's freaking great.
I wonder how they shot the part where they start to, I guess, fly up to the top of the big rock. Like,
I'm sure it was wires.
It's gotta be
some form
wires.
of wires, but it still looked really good.
well, because I'm thinking like, is it a set or is it when they filmed on actual location and they were able to
Get a huge crane and
something?
Like,
Yeah.
Maybe they were just like, it was, partly set. If they have some like kind of digital volume in the background and they're just like floating there. Like they're just moving while everything else is moving around
It
them.
could be that too.
They
Yeah.
just like
Theme park tricks.
put it on
I
top.
don't
Movie
know.
magic.
Movie magic. Don't think too hard on it.
I'm just
Was-
saying
yeah.
it looks really cool.
Was it
Very,
gr-
very seamless. Very like nothing was like, oh, that's CG or oh, that's wire work or oh, that's something that makes it just kind of feel off. It was really smooth, very like well executed. It was really cool.
And the
Really
lighting's
shot.
great too because it's set during an eclipse. So it's like
Look
almost at that
awesome.
hue of
Everything's-
orange.
Yeah, everything's like dark orange almost.
Yeah, and you see, like it's great. And then I just one thing to say is like over the course of the movie, like the growth that Paul has, that's expertly done, portrayed by Timothy Chalamet. Like I used to like internally, I'd always be like, man, Timothy Chalamet is just in everything. It's getting annoying. But it's actually no, like the dude's a really good actor, so he can, be as prolific as possible. And it's not getting to me anymore because this movie particularly gave him a lot more range than what I'm used to seeing him with. So
I haven't seen too much from him. I think the only things that I can think of that I saw with him in it were when he was very briefly in Interstellar.
that was his first
As a
movie, huh?
as a wee lad.
As a wee
little
lad.
lad.
He was probably he was probably like 13, 14 maybe years old, maybe a little bit older, 15. Where he was the son of Matthew McConaughey's character. I forget his name now. But aside from that, I can't remember seeing him in anything else. I know he was in Willy Wonka, or in the Wonka movie recently, but I haven't seen that one
Oh,
yet.
he was also in Don't Look Up.
Yeah,
He was in
he's
Don't
done
Look
a
Up.
lot of not cameos, but he's done a lot of like side
Smaller
characters.
parts.
Yeah,
Oh,
smaller
yeah.
parts in other movies.
French Dispatch. I forgot
French
about that
Dispatch.
He's
one.
great in the French Dispatch. I feel
Little
shy.
Women. He was in Little
I
Women.
feel shy about my new muscles.
that-
Like
was that what
that
it
joke
was?
was hilarious.
Little Women.
Little
that's
Women.
Yeah.
He was also
17 again, I believe.
Really?
No, Edge of 17.
Edge of 17.
No, I keep getting these movies confused. Lady Bird. He was in Lady Bird. I get those two movies confused.
He was also in Savages with Christian Bale.
Right.
And Wes Studi.
I saw him in.
That's a good one that he's in.
That's right.
I saw him in A Rainy Day in New York with Selena Gomez.
Nice.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. The guy's putting in work.
Yeah, I did not see Call Me By Your Name. I did not see. I've heard it's a good movie, but I didn't see it. The one with him and Steve Carell is his father,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think he has like a drug problem, or I don't know, but I heard he's good in that movie.
Oh, yeah.
Because how many movies did he do between both Dune movies? That's
He's done a couple.
He's
Huh?
done a couple.
yeah.
Dude's there putting in work.
Yeah, putting
You know.
work between then and now, and
His SNL skit.
His SNL
It's
skit,
great.
yes. Where he's that Zoomer trying to rap. Speaking of putting in work, again, once we get through all that set and they get to the siege that Stilgar is the head of, Paul is going and putting in work and trying to learn the Fremen ways and just kind of be really humble about it and say, hey, man, I want to get revenge on these guys as much as you do, but I'm going to fight like you guys and teach you what I know, and I'm going to learn everything from you. So he's putting in the work at the same time. His mom's putting in the work of just like, all right, I'm going to have to twist those prophecies that were put in place like hundreds and whatever years ago just to make sure that Paul has a chance and people rally behind him. So really, really cool stuff.
I do like that they took a lot of time to show like that build up of him like getting with the Fremen and
Learning from
learning
Johnny.
everything. Like it's
Yeah.
not like your typical movie where it's just like, oh, okay, he learned everything in like 2 seconds. Okay.
Oh,
It's the first hour of the movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
The whole first hour is him, I guess, a couple of months, like living with the Fremen and like learning the ways.
Yeah. Like you definitely felt obviously the time pass.
I would say it's probably more because
6 months maybe?
Probably close to Yeah, like a
It
few
should be
months.
6 months.
It's not 9 months
Because-
because she doesn't have
Yeah,
a
it's
baby.
not 9
Yeah, she
months.
has the baby,
It's
but
like
definitely
6 to 8
enough
months.
that she gets the bump.
Yeah.
Because the first movie, obviously, it ends with her not having the bump. This movie starts off with her not having a bump.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't read
By
the
her,
books.
we mean Lady Jessica,
Maybe
yeah.
you can
Yeah, just Lady
say
Jessica.
something about this, Xavier, but it's also very possible because apparently the Bene Gesserit are like supremely in control of their bodies. So she probably could accelerate her pregnancy if she wanted to, but I don't know if that's a thing.
That is, I don't know about the pregnancy thing, but most of what you said is technically true. Like, they're able to do everything, or even you said later on in the movie, is like, oh yeah, like she survived the drinking of the water of life because she knows how to deal with poisons. Like, they're trained to mess with that.
And like they control which type of baby they want, which is why the Bene Gesserit are always like make sure it's a girl. It's a girl. And,
Like,
and she chose to have a boy. And
Yeah,
that's
Paul
why.
was the only-
Yeah.
Which is part of the prophecy.
Yeah. I really loved the first harvester attack sequence, because then you get to see like the idea of just like, oh, all this like interesting future tech with the whole like, oh, we need to bring the shield down to shoot people, and yeah, that gun was scary. Again, that was loud in whatever major format, like a premium format you're listening to or watching. Like those guns on those ornithopters were scary.
I was telling Zach while we were watching it in Dolby this last time. After that sequence, I was like, "Yo, their weapons are so cool in this movie. Like the
Just like the laser.
laser that cuts clean through the."
They tried to use that laser when they were hunting Paul and in the first movie, and Duncan Idaho
Is that
gave
the
up his
same
life.
type of laser?
It's the same type of laser. It's just
Yeah.
much bigger to cut through an entire harvester. And what's cool is we're talking about character growth and the building of the relationship with not just the Fremen, where he gets his names, but at the same time, like the relationship he has with Chani, and you have like that kind of major Hans Zimmer love theme going through, and we get like montages of their different attacks, and like the attacks, the montages show you more of just like all the different like warfare and attacks that the Fedaykin are doing on the Harkonnens and disrupting spice production, and that's where you get like all the different Raban stuff with Dave Bautista, like just really selling the fact that this guy is just like a big brute, really incompetent, and he can't get the spice harvesting on track, because as we know, power over spice is power over all.
Yeah, that's the beginning of the movie.
In the
That's the Razel. Sounds like Razel.
that throat singing stuff is really, really freaking cool. I want to know where they got the inspiration. Like, hey, let's freak this out with some freaky throat singing. And
That's from the Sardaukar,
Yeah.
or is it just from that one person in that planet
that's
speaking?
a great question, because later
they
on in the
showed-
movie they speak like common
Right.
language.
In the first movie, when they go to the planet and they show like the army
Yeah,
of the
they
Sardaukar,
have
one
one person talking
person
like that.
talking like
So
it's
Lisa
like the
Secundus.
general kind of like saying stuff in that language, but
and he's doing the.
so I don't know if it's just that one person, and I don't know if in the older movies or in the books that person is like special or is more known. And
They go more into like the training regimen of
Okay.
just like, you know, one out of or a couple out of ever recruits of the Sardaukar like die like by like age 11 and whatever.
oh
It's
jeez,
yeah, like it's pretty
like-
brutal in training.
300.
Yeah. And, you know, from all that work that Paul is putting in, you know, he's getting his Fremen name. He picks the little, you know, mouse.
Maudit.
The mouse
Wadib.
rat?
Yeah, the
The
mouse
mouse
rat. No, not mouse rat. the desert mouse. And what's cool too is like the weirdly enough or interestingly enough, like the book, like how things kind of progress. There are the intercuts between major things happen with Florence Pugh's character, which happens I think in the book, if I'm not mistaken. Like she has kind of prefaces like kind of big chapters or big sections where it's her like logging of things that are going on. So very cool stuff. And it culminates with Paul's full adoption of the Fremen ways by riding a sandworm, because he said, I wanted to do it, and Stilgar's going to teach him.
And he chose the biggest.
Well, he didn't choose it.
No, I love how the joke is just like, hey man, bring a big one, give us some fun, and they're like, oh, okay, cool, and then Stilgar's like, yo, calm down, man. Like we're just trying to get him through it, as you know, go through, and also don't embarrass me. Like, yeah, and
Stilgar was so good.
dude, Javier Bardem surprisingly really effective. Like, I don't know if that's really the intent, but some of the lines, like not just the memes that we'll talk about later, but like his actual like delivery of certain lines were perfect. Like, it's when they're talking to Jessica, like, oh, you have to drink the water of life because you're part of the prophecy, and if you're not part of the prophecy,
You go back into the water.
We'll just go back to the water with everybody else, right? And he's just like, oh, okay, like he said it as such a matter of fact, especially when he went to his council and asking like, hey, I need to keep them alive.
Like he's like, woman, come over here.
Woman. But it's funny because then their council's just like, obviously throw them to the desert. What are you doing with these people? It's like, no, but it's part of the prophecy. And then they're like, oh,
again,
this guy with the prophecy
like,
again.
I see the signs.
And he's just like, dude, but I see the signs. It's like, you see the signs and everything. Like, it was kind of like you take him seriously, but it's like a lot of people don't. But then as Paul's doing all his feats, he starts getting more credibility as well, which is a cool dynamic to see.
It's kind of like Morpheus.
Kind of.
I've seen the comparison.
Yeah. Where do you think they got it from? And everything, everything culminates again in the rite of passage to ride the sandworm. Boy, what a scene! Again, you gotta watch this. Yeah, tension. Like everybody's looking around, and then they're like, "Yeah, bring a big one." And Chani's like looking there, like, "Oh, he's setting it too high." And then Paul, it's somewhere like
lower.
Paul's like, "Oh, let me put it lower." Dumps the sand, and then we get everybody freaking out because why? This sandworm is massive. It's probably the biggest whatever.
And that's the grandfather worm. And it's just like they could tell just by the wave of sand that the trail that it's
leaving.
And they're like, oh crap. They're like, why that one?
They even say that it's the biggest worm they've ever seen.
Stilgar's like, oh no, not that one. That's too big. Like, not that big, buddy. Like, oh no. And like that whole scene, like watching it in anything with premium sound, I think really sells.
Oh yeah,
the intensity of what that is. It's like
you could hear each grain of sand
and whooshing through each dune, like cape of the dune that the sandworm is crushing through, and he's just like again whooshing of the sand. Luckily he has goggles because like that would just rake anybody's skin off. Like. And the pulling on like the orifices of where the sandworm can breathe, the actual hooking on, like,
and then like slowly lifting like his leg up to like fully stand, like.
And then once he stood, hello, like the music pops in, the perfect moment, and oh man,
as funny as the joke is of that kind of like vocal refrain that plays a lot within these two movies, it's used effectively. It's to the point where like it's not so over the top. It's enough where it happens in pretty momentous occasions where we know like, oh, this is major character development. Like this is a major milestone or turning point in the story. And we joke about it, but it was like, okay, yeah, like that's deserved. That's earned, right? Like. And then he's just riding through it, and they all see him. It's like, yo, this guy is there. And then like some of the people watching him start like kneeling or praying, and that's when Chani starts kind of like, yeah, it's cool, and also like freaking out at the same time, like, oh no, it's starting to happen.
This scene had like everything you would want in this movie. Like it had the great score, especially with that part when he stands. It has great, amazing cinematography, just like the shot selection that he chose. There's even moments where it's like almost first person, and so like you feel like you're on the freaking worm with him, and it's insane. The sound, so the music, the sound, the like Danny was saying, like you can hear everything. You think you're in the freaking sand with Paul. Like that whole scene's insane, and then it's like intense. It's like dramatic. It's like a bunch of things. It's like movie making in like one like scene. And I think in an interview I heard the director say that that's probably one of his favorite scenes of the movie, and it took them like months to make that scene. It's like, I believe it, because it's crazy. Like when they say like how much this movie costs, like you see it like everywhere throughout this movie, and this is definitely one of those sequences. It's very, very cool.
You could tell the value in those sequences for sure.
And then it kind of cements the whole legend of Muad'Dib, and it gets to the point where they're now like blatantly blowing up structures near the Capitol, and then Raban rolls up after everything, and it's time. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna kill this guy. He's gonna be dirt. I'm gonna kill the rats and go exterminate him." And then they finally go and they attempt the attack, and then like he's all like trying to be flustered, and then he shows up and he just immediately nope,
I'm out.
right the hell out back into his ornithopter.
And
Paul's just walking like it wasn't like you saw other Fremen like try to roll through stuff. The Harkonnen shoot one of their own with their laser guns, and
they
at the
slowly come out from the sand and like just
everything from
yeah.
the bombardment beforehand, and it's just like gets to that point where it's just like there's sheer horror for these guys. And like before they were getting like one guy was puking, a lot of them were freaking out like, oh, we can't for their demons.
Well, he was
we can't fight
puking
them.
because of the sun. Like that's why their armor has like the shielding, because they can't handle the sun on the right.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I thought it was because he was afraid.
No.
I
That's
thought it
why.
was that too.
Yeah.
That's why even when like Raban doesn't have his helmet on, like when he went to the front of the copter, he was like squinting because he could like barely like see what was going on. And then once, even when they got to one point when they were, I guess, gonna shoot, then like I guess they went too close to the sun. They're all like, "Oh, we can't see anymore." And then he's like, "Shoot it anyway." And that's when like they shot all the missiles.
Yeah.
Like yeah, they can't handle the sun. That's why they like do all their stuff.
And they
At
have
night.
their helmets and stuff. Okay. Makes sense.
I gotta rewatch it.
Yeah.
Just for that.
And then it makes more sense now that when you see Gady Prime, where it's like they have the black sun, that's why they're
Yeah.
all white. Like they're used to that. They're not used to like the crazy sun from Arrakis.
Which is wild, because if they're going into other planets that have normal suns, and they're still formidable.
Exactly.
We see like, oh yeah, they got armor.
I mean, they have the technology, so like they have the armor to shield themselves. But that one dude, like he didn't have the visor on while he was in the copter, and then the sun was coming up. He was like, ooh, couldn't handle the heat. Stay out of the kitchen.
Stay out of the kitchen. Stay out of Arrakis.
The one pilot had like obviously the tinted one.
Yeah, I think that guy was like actually like scanning the area.
The other one had the one where he could scan and see without obviously.
And he was one that said, "Oh, I lost sight." Or
Lost
something.
sight.
Yeah, that's like
his,
And then he
head
lost
cracked.
his neck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, you lost sight? Well, now you lost
Everything.
Fire will. And then it was great to see him all like fired up to go after these guys. And then it's just, nope. Like immediately just like, I'm trash. I'm getting out of here.
And what a shot, like when after all the smoke and you see just like the silhouette of Paul walking, and like you don't see his face until the explosions in the background are going off, and then you just see like the flashes of light through like half of his face, and then that's when you see that it's like him being the badass.
And as Raban's running away, seeing other stuff blow up, people running away and still getting cut up by the Fremen, it's like sheer chaos. Like, and it adds to like Raban's like horror. We're like, oh yeah, buddy, you gotta run. And there's a moment where like you think he might just get got by some random Fremen, but he gets saved by one of these dudes. He probably killed that guy like 40 minutes later for some other stupid reason. But it was great to see that, because after all that, it shows that Raban can't handle his stuff. And then we pivot to one of our other new antagonists for this movie.
Yeah, after that first hour of Paul being with the Fremen, and then him riding the worm, and then them doing like the naming ceremony, that's like act 1 of the movie. And then right after that is when they start doing the next section, which is this tournament on another planet.
Yeah.
Gladiator type fight.
Well, before that, yeah, that's the transition with Irulan again, and they're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
we have other prospects." It's like you messed up by having Paul, turn on everybody, and we have other prospects. Like who? Like he's got another nephew. That guy's psychotic, so we'll deal with it. Like the Mohaim, the Reverend Mother of like the Bene Gesserit orders, she's looking at kind of like taking all the information. He's like, and like, yeah, he's psychotic. You can still control him. Like, you just point him in the right direction. And we did it. We just need to keep making genetic perfections or whatever. And I remember thinking from the trailers, I'm like, oh, Austin Butler just looks kind of Austin Butler-y, but with like a bald cap or something on there. And
He's gonna sound like Elvis.
he's gonna sound like Elvis. Boy, was I wrong. This man knocked it out of the park. That plus like the awesome direction of like it's like sort of like coming of age. It's like almost like his birthday, but it's like, hey, kill some Atreides survivors for your birthday.
He was just so hyped to actually get a fight.
is so hyped that he killed some of the handmaidens because he needed to test out the knife.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that guy's insane. But like they did that, the Harkonnens seem to do that a lot anyway. I think they're just like slaves. I forget what in the book, but like yeah, they have like slaves that they're just disposable on Getty Prime. And this whole section of the movie, like showing more of that Harkonnen culture, was really cool. So you had like Lady Margot standing in as like with the other Bene Gesserit sisters. Lady Margot's like introducing other things within Getty Prime. You see Baron Harkonnen like he's just
chilling.
Man,
floating around on his machine or whatever he has.
Yeah. Smoking a vape.
Yeah, he's vaping it up.
Smoking like the whole movie.
Yeah. He's that, or he's just stuck in his black goo.
That oil pool.
What does that do? I mean, that's why he has such good skin. Maybe.
No, I
I
think
think it's like a healing.
Yeah.
It is a healing. He has a disease.
They started showing him doing that after the whole like poison gas thing in the first movie.
Yeah,
Oh, that's right.
yeah. There's a poison gas attack by Leto, but he also has like an older like disease that like has him really fat and he can't move. But anyway, that whole thing, and they're like, oh, like that. You see the whole like political planning, like, oh, there's plans within plans where, he's like, oh, I made you, and like that, the whole thing, that whole fight sequence is great. It's very, Anthony Alex is very reminiscent of Gladiator in a certain sense, except with weird, freaky guard dudes on the side. Yeah.
Those things are weird.
Those things are
What
weird.
is that?
Every time
guys in suits.
too. Where they kind of sound.
Every time I see them, I think of Kingdom Hearts, the Heartless.
The Heartless.
Oh my god.
But like
The nobodies.
human form.
The human heartless, the ones that are leveled up more, like they're just like trying to poke him, and it was cool. He's like, no, he's like, this is my kill, like stay back. Like I thought he was gonna murder one of those guys. I would be like, do it, it'd be great. But he still had the whole fight. You see that this man is very competent. He, again, psychotic, but a great fighter, but also pretty adept and astute in some of these other things. Like afterwards, it's just like, oh, you tried to kill me, uncle? It's like, no, man, I made you look like $1 million. Now everybody loves you. Like, look at you. You're a hero, not just like out there just killing for sport. Like now you're killing because they tried to assassinate you, and look at you. You overcame, and that made him look good for the Bene Gesserit, which then makes him go through his whole sequence. But
they drugged two of the two of the House of
yeah,
Dragons.
but not one of them.
But not one of them.
One of them, no, because again, that could have been like, hey, and because it could have been really bad.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's almost like he took the challenge on, and he's like, fine, I'll take off my shield and just fight for real, which is pretty badass. Like, yeah. So like I remember from reading the book, I was like, man, this guy's kind of messed up, but they really elevated him in this movie, especially if you remember, like, if anyone's ever seen the old David Lynch Dune. So Austin Butler's character is played by Sting, the musician Sting, and he has hair and stuff, and he's just kind of like weird, kooky and whatever. But this one's more like measured psychosis, but like still and very confident. Like he's like in his own weird levels of unhinged, where he's just like cutting people up and like, oh, let them feed him to my beauties. Like there's like harpy women that are around him. That was nuts too.
So weird.
Fun fact: while we're in the fight sequence, the one that was not drugged, that he did the fight sequence, he is the stunt coordinator of the movie.
Nice.
Nice.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
That scene looks so good.
His name is Roger Yuan.
Man,
Nice.
that is dope.
Was he in the first movie? Like, was he a character?
He
in the
was in the first movie, apparently in some like
in
quick
the background?
sequence.
Okay.
Yeah. And he's apparently some like captain in
Lieutenant Lando. Yeah.
Okay.
or lieutenant.
Lieutenant Lando.
He did put up a good fight.
He's all
He almost won.
Cool.
Dude,
He almost won.
Dude, I think he's the bad guy in Shanghai Noon.
Oh, in the first
he is
movie?
Yeah, in the first one.
Yeah, maybe.
And he's in the Spawn movie
Oof.
Oh, that's from the 90s. I remember seeing that in theaters.
and Venom and Skyfall.
My
So
back hurts. Hell.
Like Getty Prime.
You're gonna need for those floaty things. And that sequence where he earns the whole dukeship of Arrakis, and like everybody there just kind of like the saluting and the celebrating and the parade with the whole filter of Getty Prime is awesome. I think a lot of audiences watch this.
fireworks.
So
Yeah.
cool,
Like imploding almost.
Well, first,
They
like,
have the Black Sun.
because they have the Black Sun. Because I want to talk about first before you mentioned that X because a lot of all those shots were shot in infrared
Yeah.
instead of color and then made black and white. The infrared, I guess, it makes it more like more of like the silky smooth skin and like the really dark black colors to give that contrast, which looks insane. And there's no way that you can restore color on that, which is something that I heard from someone somewhere on the internet.
Yeah, it was a very unique black and white sequence. It was very cool.
Yeah, because I think I saw that people were complaining about it being in black and white. It's like, you can't change it now. Not because it's edited. It's just because it's shot in infrared. You can't restore color that way. But the whole shot looks because we didn't get anything of Giddy Prime really from the first movie.
No, well, the only things that they showed, the only times they showed it,
At night.
people were indoors, which is why nobody looked pure white.
And
like
it was
that.
at night, yeah, and
Yeah.
so that's why like they had that weird skin, like David Dasmalkian's character, like sort of like the mentat of the Harkonnens. That's why you had like normal skin pigmentation, but then that infrared stuff is just really freakily and brutally effective.
Yeah, because we skipped this part too. So this whole sequence is essentially like a long cameo from Leia Seydoux. I don't know how to pronounce her name.
Seydoux, yeah.
And she's also a Bene Gesserit, and she's there watching the whole match, pretty much like courting Fade Rotha. And then so after the match, after that they're outside, then it's like her following him inside, and then like everything looks kind of normal. Like you could see like his skin isn't as
or
bright.
her skin tone.
Right. So it's just
she
like
has normal blonde hair, whereas in the outside when she was watching the fight, it was like pure white.
So just that attention to detail, just like in the first movie, all the times that they showed them, they would all be inside, so you could. And then in this time they showed them outside, and then only a little bit inside.
The inside with the Zach mentioned the fireworks kind of exploding
So
around,
cool.
like it's like creating its own versions of shadows, and it adds to like that to the whole like predator prey thing going on between Lady Margot and Fade Rotha, where you think Fade Rotha's gonna sneak up on her, but it's just like you took the bait, son, and he gets got. Yeah, he gets too confident. He thinks it's like this whole like seduction thing and goes through, and then surprise, Gom Jabbar test. Yeah, it was, but it was also like a put your hand in the box, the thing from part one.
Put your right hand.
What was really funny is that when they talk about that, it's like, oh yeah, he loved it because he's just like enjoying the pain.
He loves pain.
It's just like he's not freaking out. So is he broken or did we do it right?
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's like he's just crazy. Also, I got a daughter in the waiting, so we're done. So the Reverend Mother's like, good.
Driven by
That quick.
He's driven by honor and it was basically honor and humiliation is basically like these are the levers we're gonna pull him by. He's like, oh, he can be sexually tempted. Yeah, but like they immediately like here's how we manipulate and here's how we can pull these particular levers to get them to do what we want them to do, which worked, really works. It's great to see everybody trying to get their Zach wouldn't understand this reference, but their Game of Thrones fix on.
And yeah, this scene is really good. I mean, the second time I watched it, I did more kind of like trying to see the pace of the movie. This is only really like 20 minutes of the movie. And in 20 minutes, they did a whole pretty much intro to a new character, which is Austin Butler's character. And then they also did a good job of like showing more of like the background machinations of the Bene Gesserit. It showed more of the... Is she I almost said fairy godmother. Is the older woman, like, is she like super high ranking? Like, I don't know. She seems like she is, but like it showed that she has been actually training the Emperor's daughter their ways. So
she's a Reverend Mother, and she speaks to she serves, or like she's part of directly with the Emperor.
Right. So that's why she has so much
really
sway
high
over
ranking.
him, because like she kind of like is like his advisor, right?
Yeah. She's like, I put everything in its place.
So like I feel like in that 25 minute sequence, they showed you a lot and also explained a lot, like in a little amount of time. So yeah, I thought it was very effective.
Yeah, and that in the end kind of leads us to like the whole movement where a lot of the other maneuverings on Arrakis are starting to take place, where Paul's trying to. I love how the idea is like this dealing with prophecy and like he sees bits and pieces because of his time on Arrakis and all the spice trance and visions, and it's getting him kind of freaked out of the idea of like, I don't want to be this prophet, I don't want to be this Messiah person, I just want to get this done, but he's trying to avoid it all. And then he runs into his old friend Gurney Halleck with a whole bunch of smugglers, and that kind of changes the game because he starts letting him know, like, dude, you can take revenge for your father, you can take control of this stuff, we have your old family's arsenal of basically, like, I like how they call them atomics and not just nukes. It's like you can use that as leverage.
You can blow up the whole planet.
I love how Stilgar and Chani's like, I'm sorry, what? It's like, it's a figure of speech, like, chill out. And it's just great to see, like, there's more of that complexity, and in the end you have still his mom kind of playing with everything, with the whole belief system. She took the water of life, which was great to see. That I'm glad that they did this from the book, where it also affected the baby that was being born in there, and basically that baby is what they call preborn. That's pretty wild. I hope that's just weird enough for people to understand and get through. I don't know, like, Zach has never seen any of this, or Danny. Like, how did you guys respond to the fact that, like, wait, is she going crazy? Like, is it like, because Jessica at certain points would speak as just like, she's like having a weird thing with her voice? Is she using the voice, or is that like the baby speaking through her? So,
I mean, I think because they showed like all the liquid, like the blue kind of take over the baby.
Yep.
I think it was easier to understand, like, okay, like obviously it affected something, and like then you understand like they're communicating with each other.
Mm-hmm.
I think if they wouldn't have shown that scene, then it would have been kind of like, oh, what's happening? Like maybe a little more to like figure it out.
Yeah,
because like the part that would cement it was there's one scene later on where
Embryo getting eyes, just like, all in there.
Yeah.
I remember watching the movie. It's like, oh, they're doing this.
Yeah,
this is great.
The part where he's having visions after. Well, I mean, we haven't gotten to that part yet, but when Paul drinks it, and he's having the visions, and then you think it's him at first, but it's actually his unborn sister, all grown up now,
communicating with him. Yeah.
So you kind of like, okay, that for me was like, oh, okay, so the mother isn't crazy.
Yeah,
but he's not pretending to hear.
She was communicating with Paul earlier on in the movie.
Remember, she's asking, "Why aren't you coming with me?" When she would,
your sister.
She was gonna go down to the south area first.
That was the mom speaking through.
Yeah, but at that point, like, you not knowing any of this stuff, did you think, oh, is she just like crazy? Like, what's going on here? Or did you realize like, oh no, the baby's actually speaking through her? Because remember, she was like, because Jessica says she speaks.
But the thing is, that didn't happen to Jessica until Jessica took the whatever worm juice, whatever you want to call it,
water of life.
Yeah, but that point she did. But that point she did.
No, but I'm saying early on in the movie, like that first hour,
not bug juice.
Paul was having like psychological talks with the baby. Like they would show, like little like images of like the baby in utero, and then it would go back to him, and it was like him kind of like listening to her. Like in the very beginning of the movie, he's like, when he's like kind of like sleeping, like lying down on the sand, he's like somehow like talking to her. But the actual like when Jessica starts like pretty much speaking for her, that doesn't happen until after she takes
the water of life.
I
worm juice.
Don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember
all the weird whispers and visions that he has.
And I know they show images of the baby before
that baby already has blue eyes. Like it's already got like this spiced up.
Yeah, watch it again.
Because I think while they're eating like some food or something, I think they mentioned something in that sequence. And
yeah, it's like, oh, there's spice in the food.
Yeah, spice in the like that.
I think one's like, your food a little too spicy.
They're all like,
okay, yeah,
chuckling in the background.
The little flashes of visions that you have. I wasn't. I thought it was just him having the visions, not like not.
Yeah, I interpret that in how I read it. It was just like, it's not so necessarily her like speaking to him automatically, because she was just a baby. She's just there. But then when she drank they have the water life, and it's in utero into her, like that unlocks her like the psychic and telepathic abilities that the Bene Gesserit have been cultivating for all that time. Nerd talk. Sorry. So it got to the point where like that baby is basically what's known as preborn. Like that baby's alive before it's alive. Like it's conscious before it's actually alive in the world.
the turn that Rebecca Ferguson does, like when she takes, I'm not gonna say water of life. Whatever, the water of life, the water of life.
I just want to say
like,
bug juice.
Yeah, just
No.
like the turn and her
blue
actions
slushy.
and her acting is like it's fantastic.
Yeah,
She
it's
did
so
such
good.
a good job in this movie. Everybody,
Yeah.
like across the board, the
Everyone
acting is
across the-
Well, then
fantastic.
also we'll get to in a bit, but also Paul when he takes the water of life.
And what
like,
happens when he takes the water of life?
he gets slapped.
Yeah, no, but
Oh, yeah.
what's great is that you have this natural, true, like, relationship and bond that he's made with Chani. You know, the whole, like, I want to be equal to you. Like, I just want to be, I just want the Fremen to be free. I want to do all this stuff. And then, like, he starts putting in the subtle hints of just, like, okay, fine. Like, she's even, it's weird because at certain point she's like, oh, man, the world's choosing for us. He's like, okay, cool. Then we got to go there. But then I will do what must be done. And
Yep.
that lays
Once
the
he
groundwork.
said that, and you're like, oof.
That lays the groundwork for Paul knowing that he's got to roll up his sleeves and get his hands
I mean,
dirty.
Throughout the movie, he was telling her, like, I
don't
keep
wanna do
seeing
it.
all these visions and I know what's going to
People
happen.
dying.
Yeah, he's like, I know
Yeah.
what's going to happen if I go south. He's like, I just want to stay up north with you peeps. And he's like, I know what will happen. And then
But then they can't.
I know, but she
Yeah.
was the kind of like the final straw of kind of convincing him to like go with them.
We got to go.
and
with-
he's like, I guess I'm going to do it.
At the same time, like Fade Rotha was going through all the sieges in the north. They're just annihilating them. Like, oh, we're just gonna bombard them with artillery strikes. They can't get out to fight us. Let's murder them. Like,
Oh, and throughout the movie, they kept at least hinting that Harkonnen had no idea that there were there was
Atreides
anybody
left.
no that there
Under
was
the
anybody
south.
living on like half the planet of Arrakis. And so they're like, oh yeah, we don't have to worry about that side because it's uninhabitable.
yeah,
inside
and
the
if
south.
they're barely lives, if anyone's there, like they're not doing jack all.
And then the Fremen are like, psych, we live there too.
We live there too, and there's millions of us, and then we all convene into a war council. And then
Speaking of
yeah.
War Council,
Man,
talk
that's-
about that council sequence.
So the whole drama is that Stilgar needs to go there, but Paul has developed this legend of and air of leadership around him, but it's conflicting with the Fremen ways. To where
'Cause he
Stilgar's
can't
like,
speak,
yeah, he's not the
'cause
leader
he's
of the
not
siege.
leader.
So Stilgar's like, yo, just kill me now. It's easy. Like, here, I have this. You take that. Just kill me. Like, he's so in belief of the Lisan al-Gaib that he's just, nah, man, do it. Kill me, and then you get to keep going. And I loved once, like you said, after he got the Water of Life, you know, Chani's, like, other Fremen name was the whole, like,
Desert Spring.
Desert Spring. And he's like, oh, he shall be awakened by the tears of the Desert Spring. You're like, oh, no, it's happening. And so, like, it's just see all of that.
Well, Paul's mom says, "Oh, you're a part of this too. Like,
Yeah.
You're part of the prophecy."
She's like,
so-
I don't want to be.
Yeah, but it's like too late. Sucks for you. Can I just really, before we get into that whole council speech, where we talk about the person who's cultivating the baby sandworms to then kill him to then get the water of life? Like that whole sequence is awesome. Like where she's just kind of like luring it, and then like she goes for the catch.
just
like,
grabs
that
it
was
so
cool.
easily.
It's like a bear getting
Yeah,
like the
like she
salmon
grabs
from
it,
the
but then
waterfall.
it's
Like,
yeah,
it
and at the
wraps
same time
around,
it's
yeah.
wrapping around there. She's like, no,
No, I'm
it's
good.
cool.
Gonna
It's
take it too
okay.
far.
But she's doing like the sound,
Yeah.
like the clicking,
Yep.
doing all this stuff to, I guess, to
Calm it.
soothe it a
Yeah,
little bit.
before it kills it because
Before
they
it
don't let
drowns
water.
it,
Yeah, they
yeah.
drown it to then go in and take the poison out of it. But that all leads to Paul's awakening. You saw that Zach talked about the vision. He's now kind of bought in. He understands the whole family lineage of oh snap, my mom is the daughter of the Baron.
The plot twist.
Vladimir Harkonnen. Oh no! And she's like, did you know that? She's like, I didn't know that until I drank the water.
So she knew.
Yeah, she didn't know.
Well, no. I'm saying like she knew like a little bit
halfway
earlier
through
in
the movie, yeah.
Yeah, she knew earlier. She's like, yeah, I didn't say
But it
anything.
was a good
then
surprise.
It's good that you need to know. But he's like, oh, since we're this, we're gonna have to take a page out of the playbook and like play that game. And that's where he whips out because this whole thing was really cool. Is like when he's embracing the Fremen culture, he puts away his dad's ring. The ducal ring, and then when he's finally like, no, I gotta be Paul Atreides now. He whips the
brings it
ring
back
back
out.
on, and he's just like, this means I'm in control. And he starts playing the prophet game with everybody, and it's great because at first everybody's like about to like square up, like, what are you doing saying this? Like, how dare you roll up? And he's like, no, I dare because you're freaking out because I might be the actual thing you're looking for.
And they have like that rule of like you were saying earlier that like, oh, in order for him to speak, since he's not the leader, he has to like kill his leader He's like, and he pretty much said like, why would I kill like one of our best like fighters? He's like, it makes no sense.
Why
So
would
he's-
I break my knife before I go to fight?
Right, and then
love
that's
that
when he
line.
goes into like his whole speech.
Yeah.
What a great speech.
Yeah, because then he's like, hey, well, if I'm gonna be the one in charge, like I'm setting the rules now. I'm not gonna now go into like a knife fight.
I respect tradition, but not when it's hurting us.
Yeah,
But his like confidence and just like the way he does his speech, like I was like, okay, like this
You're a
guy's
good
a good
actor.
actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're good.
And his mom was trying to like rein him in. It's like, no, dude, rein it
Or
in.
slow down.
Like, slow down. Like, slow down. He's like, hell no, I don't give a damn. Like, and that's, again, you start seeing that darker tone over like, yeah, I gotta be this mean version of myself in order to get everybody together.
but dude, when he walks up though,
He's like,
Well, that's what
he's
he
coming
said
in,
to his mom.
You see like the heat coming. No, I'm saying like no. I'm saying when he's outside and he's walking up to like the entrance.
The
and you-
score on that
It's
moment.
like the heat. You see the heat wave, like the heat waves, coming from the worm in the background, and then
oh, the
Yeah, the worm in the
So
back.
I guess he just
Badass.
jumped
like
off.
such
and
a
it was
cool
like,
shot.
Yeah, and that worm's like, all right,
and then the
get it,
cape,
boss.
like
I know,
not the
flapping.
cape, like
That's
the
what I'm saying,
hood,
like,
yeah.
Obi-Wan or something.
It's like the main theme, but like in like metal guitars, like
Yeah.
damn, man,
Or like really like
Badass.
metal
sick.
cello, like it was badass. Yeah, you're right.
And then he walks like through the crowd of all like the Southerners, the Southern
Well,
crewmen.
it's Southerners and the rest of the Northerners who survived, and you know,
very reminiscent of like
How was that in IMAX?
Anakin, like
Pretty-
Anakin with
Oh,
his
he's
with
like
his
the-
robe.
the whole like when you
The
see
whole
the
screen was
entire
full?
like that one scene in the background where he's walking up, and then where he's on the platform and the circle of the council, and just it helps you understand like, oh, these are numbers. Like also helped me understand that, well, there's a lot of people here. Is that when Fade Rotha was going to Arrakis, he gets like a whole ass army parade that's just like, oh yeah, we're going to Arrakis now. Like we're gonna go and clamp and put some control. So understanding like the numbers that they're playing with in these wars are massive. And
yeah, like before the speech,
Nuts.
right after he takes the water of life, pretty much like him and his mom go into like a mind meld, and that's when they talk to each other, and that's when he tells her like, hey, like you knew about our lineage. And then that's like in that speech is like, so we have to do this, like we have to be Harkonnens in order to like do this. So that's why he's like extra like aggressive and acting that way, because he's pretty much saying like, the way I used to be like soft and all that, he's like, I can't be that way if I'm gonna like try to lead these people. So that's like what made him get that hard edge.
which is interesting to come through, because later on, you know, there's a reference to like you can't be soft or dealing, you know, being able to lead with the heart. But the idea is more and more of this transformation happens, the more and more Chani's just like,
no, I'm out.
I just this is I can't
you're not
believe
the
it's
same
happening.
anymore.
Yeah, it's like it's really happening, and it's this is too much, and you're losing yourself in all of it. Which, you know, he kind of understood, like I have to lose myself in the moment. You know it.
In the music.
Yeah. You never let it go. Oh, nope. All right, I'm done. So that all culminates into the whole idea of like basically calling
He ate mom's spaghetti.
he ate mom's spaghetti. Which is the prophecy stuff. Yeah, he ate mom's spaghetti. And what's that whole, all of that now culminates in luring the emperor to Arrakis, which is great because even his daughter's like, oh, you gotta let these two people fight, and then you show up as the peacekeeper. Which again, like keeping in a very sci-fi tone, that emperor ship is just really freakily sci-fi. Like again in IMAX, when you see that ship coming through and the reflection of
The reflection looked really good.
that really sold it. I was like, oh, this is legit. Like this is a totally different thing than what we're used to. Like this is the emperor rolling up, and we get very Christopher Walken-y. It's pretty cool. He's like, what is this? Who is this Muad'Dib down in the desert? And like that's when
But he already knew the answer. He was
Yeah.
just seeing if they knew the answer.
And they didn't.
Yeah, and they did it.
He's like,
It's
these guys.
these
guys.
I put them back in control, and they're hella incompetent. And he made the Baron pay for it. It's just like, yeah, just, you know, cut it. It's funny because Fade Rotha knew it was coming. He's like, fuck it, my uncle's dead. Like, forget
He was
that
kind
guy.
of excited too.
Yeah, he's
Oh.
kind of like, ooh, another family member. But remember, he put in the promise of like, oh, if we take care of this guy, I can be emperor. Like, I'll be next in line if I marry Irulan. Which her outfit on Arrakis was really freaky. It was like interesting
It
chainmail.
was so cool.
Yeah, like it's just again, it's like perfectly sci-fi.
Because she had like 3 or 4 different outfits, and
They were all different.
Yeah, they're
It's like
really
it's almost
cool.
like medieval sci-fi. In fact, that's how I kind of get and understood Dune when I was reading stuff is like a lot of these various different houses and nobles and these people fighting for control over certain resources, and there's lineage and there's kingship. It's all like kind of feudal stuff going on, but with freaky sci-fi stuff.
Yeah, that's the costume designer saying like, give me the Oscar, please.
Time to flex. And speaking of flex, we then culminate in that pretty massive rallying into fights, into ultimate like battle of Arrakis sequence that was short, but I think still really well done. I kind of wanted it to be like an additional like 5 minutes longer, but that's like one of like the only few knocks I have about it. But it was
still very well done. Like you're just like.
So I have a question to ask, and again, seeing this twice, like the rockets they sent, were those nukes?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so they nuked the side of a mountain just to like blow up the mountain. It's
So
just
that
to
the
like,
mountain-
and to also I think blend in with the storm that was coming.
yeah, it opened up. Yeah, like they opened up the storm. I think that was to open up. I think Stilgar to show up, right?
Well, not just
No,
him,
not
like
just
everybody.
Yeah,
It was
everybody,
like,
because
like three worms. Three
Yeah.
No, dude.
Or
It
five-
It
was,
was like
five or
six.
Oh yeah,
It was like at least six.
they had three that could fit on the screen,
Yeah,
but
Yeah.
like when they show the shot from like
There was, like,
above,
seven.
you see like
8 or 10 of them.
a
Yeah.
bunch
Yeah,
of them.
I counted 7. But it was great. Stilgar's on the worms and just like getting hyped, like let's go. And what's cool is that you see it's a throwback to the visions from the first movie that Paul had with Chani on like a ship or whatever. Like you see the flags, the Atreides flags, but like in the Fremen colors. And one of the coolest things we know that like the ornithopters are trying to shoot, but they can only shoot when they're and then their shields go down.
Mm-hmm.
So they're riding and also using the rocket launchers while riding the samurai. Like that is the coolest thing. One of the coolest things in this entire movie. And like the soldier cars, like they're supposed to be like the top tier like army. They're freaking out because they nuked a mountain to blow up stuff, and then they're running away from the sandworms.
Yeah.
And the shot of the mountain exploding, and there's just like the shockwave and the wind, of course, with Paul's cape flowing, just like that shot.
It kind of reminded me of a smaller version of the Death
Ridiculous.
Star blowing up part of
Alderaan.
no in Rogue One.
Rogue One. And what was nuts too is when Paul is leading the rest of the army, it's just him, and then it's like the massive army over the dune,
And then
like,
in
it's just
front,
him
Lord of the
walking.
Rings, yeah.
But then in front, you
Are
have
the
all of them
Fedaykin that come up from
under the
the sand?
Oh,
So cool.
so cool.
Yeah, like it's just it all
But
came through
they
together.
come out
It's like
from
no.
the sand and immediately just start booking it.
Yeah, and they're like,
And
let's
it's
go,
like-
and they're just like, what is going on here? And these guys just aren't able to handle it.
And then just like in the first movie, how a lot of his visions are like jumbled.
Mm-hmm.
He saw it, I think, maybe twice in the first movie, that vision of him fighting all these people in like the armor.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's Chani in this movie.
But
She's the one
she
doing-
does like the same sequence.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
So like
Same
what
thing.
he was really watching was just her. That's
Yeah.
what he was envisioning.
Yeah, 'cause
Even though
I
the
mean,
spice, the spice was still giving him.
But it was a little
Kind of
longer.
jumbled.
Sequence was longer, but yeah, it was cool that like the camera was following her and she just took out like 20 guys.
And it was nuts to see that it was just a complete and utter decimation of those forces around the Emperor's like mini castle that they built. That they just cut to the throne room,
Yeah.
and it's just like, what is going on? Like all the stuff from the bomb, from the rockets, from all the fighting outside, and then it's just the Fremen roll up, and it's just
Well, the door explodes, and then like with the smoke, you just see them slowly.
and the
walk up.
soldier car like, let's go, and then they just get murdered. And then that's when the Fremen come in, and that's when we get like the court intrigue and
Well,
All that
he
extra
just
stuff.
walks up
and kills.
and
his
like
grandpa.
everyone's kind of like on edge, like, oh, what is he gonna do? And he just walks up the stairs and goes, "Hi, Grandpa," and then
stabs him
I don't
right
know what
in
he
the
says
neck.
after.
to whom?
You die like an animal.
Oh, you die like
Yeah.
an animal. Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to know. I was like,
You die like an animal. And then, and at the end, I love that just like, oh, we're gonna take these hostages, take them to the royal, like, or
Yeah.
take them to the observation and that waiting room, and just like, oh, and leave his body to the desert. Which is then you get that freaky scene of just like the bugs
All the
over his
ants
body. It's like that was pretty cold. It's like this man is cold blooded.
I'm surprised with how often they said in the first movie. Nobody in this movie said desert power, because I was like, I felt like this whole sequence was like desert power. I know.
They mentioned a couple times, I think.
In this
Paul
movie?
said, yeah, he's like,
Yeah,
oh, you
Paul
use the
said that.
desert. The desert's your weapon. The desert's your power, and or something.
And I
think
want to
that's-
say that Gurney probably said it once.
what I know.
No, he said real firepower.
Yeah,
This is
I think-
I know he said
No, but when they're
firepower.
walking in through the like caves or whatever.
yeah, to the siege.
I think he mentioned something
He
about
says
desert
desert
Because I know
I
like
wouldn't
Oscar
say-
Isaac says it like 5 times.
Yeah.
in the
Because
first
it's
movie.
awesome. Like,
And then I think other people say it too.
And I think Paul says it
Desert
one time in
power.
this
Yeah.
movie. So
it's like you wield desert power. Yeah.
But yeah, like pretty much that battle sequence was like that's what they were talking about. It's like all the soldiers had no chance. You have freaking huge worms coming at you, and then you have these people that live in the sand. They come out and then they just like sneak attack everybody, and like they don't have any chance at all. Like fighting these people, it's pretty crazy.
They're just sitting ducks.
Yeah. And at that point, like Paul's really embracing this final, like, hey, I'm gonna take this over. Here's my play. And he's trying to set that up. And the whole idea, everything's setting up of just like, hey, this is the play we're gonna do. And you see Chani still just like, damn, he's really going this far. And but beforehand what was smart by Baron Harkonnen is that let's tell the Landsrat. So like to tell them that things are in danger, like the Emperor's in danger. Like that was smart. It was like that was a little smart move on his end, because then it puts Paul in a position like, oh, I'm looking like the bad guy. And but they didn't know until the end. So that whole thing, the Emperor does his whole like, oh, I killed your dad because he was weak. And again, like Christopher Walken just really like looking like somebody, yeah, he's supposed to be in control, but also kind of like an old dude that's just like on his way out.
yeah.
Like but still just like justified in whatever he's doing. And that's when we get the whole like, oh, we stand trial. It's like, oh, so either fight or choose your champion. And that's where we roll up to again, Fade Rotha, like, I'm here. Like my time has come.
It all
Just
led
like,
to this.
give me a blade.
Yeah, give me a blade. And the Emperor's
He's
like,
that'll
"Use mine."
do.
He's like, okay, it's a random knife. And then I think Paul's using an Atreides blade, which is interesting enough. He wasn't using a Fremen blade.
All I know is
Oh,
that
he wasn't using a Chris knife?
No, he was
I
not
thought he
using a
did.
Chris knife.
Oh,
No.
interesting. Oh, okay, yeah, because it had like the handle of it
Yeah.
was like it had like some engraving on it and looked more like
Warren.
no, I was gonna say a different word. It had a more regal to it, I guess. Like
Yeah.
in terms of design.
Nobility. How petty was it when Paul does the salute where he's like, may thy knife chip and shatter, and Fade Roth
He's like,
He's like, may thy knife chip and shatter.
He's like, I guess.
like, no, yeah, I don't care. Like, that's so cheap.
Whatever you say, little boy.
Yeah.
Oh well, no, because he goes cousin, and he's like, oh,
Cousin?
is that so?
He's like, won't be the first time I killed a family member.
is it his cousin though?
Yeah, they're like,
Yeah, I guess.
Because
Yeah.
Federatha is the
Nephew
Harkonnens.
of-
they're
nephew.
they're not directly first cousins.
Okay.
But like they are like second cousins because of it's like,
Probably our first cousin once removed, that kind of thing.
yeah.
Well, I have a question. I don't know. Maybe you might be able to answer it.
Wearing my
I don't know
glasses
if
today.
if it has anything to do that was in the book. In the first movie, in the scene when the Baron Harkonnen was talking with Oscar Isaac, like before Oscar Isaac dies, like when he's like naked in that throne room.
Yeah.
When he's there eating, he's like, "Oh, you guys have wonderful food here, cousin." He said that to Leto, and so that always
never
confused me.
noticed
That always confused me. So it's like, is that real or was that just like he was just saying words like as a formality? I don't know why he
Well,
was
I
saying
mean,
the word cousin, but
Since
I
you've
believe
read
they
it-
are.
Because since you
But,
read a few
like-
of the books, I don't know if it's like if he's saying cousin, like okay, yeah, they're like distantly related, like maybe from thousands of years ago.
like
They
it's just
were-
like
they
House
were-
Atreides,
they
like
branched off or something.
related to the
Somehow,
Harkonnens?
like well, it's more so they're closely related to like the House Carino, which is right now like the ruling
The Emperor,
emperors.
yeah.
Yeah, but I think maybe like a lot of removed and stuff. If I
because that would
remember,
be even
Maybe it was
weirder.
like foreshadowing.
Yeah.
like-
Because then his wife is also Harkonnen, so is he like marrying
his
his
I would think
cousin
it's
also?
more-
Like
I
he
would
married
think
his
it's more
cousin. Well, actually, they
distant.
never married, but he was together
Yeah.
with technically his
Well,
cousins.
they had
and
kids.
kids.
unless he knew. And
No,
then-
he didn't know. She didn't
No.
know.
yeah, she didn't know that that's his daughter.
He-
so
he
like
didn't- he didn't
he was
know.
not married,
Yeah.
but like he took his daughter as a concubine basically the whole time, and
I don't even think he knew
don't know
that
where it's-
Paul was his grandson.
no, he
No,
didn't.
no.
No, that's why. Like he just looked at it, he's like, oh damn, it's time. So
But I would think when he says that, it's more of like a distant thing, like again, like maybe they have like common ancestors,
But
but from like again like thousands of years, not Not like, oh yeah,
direct.
my great great grandfather. You know, we share the same great great grandfathers. More like 1,000 years, 2,000 years, maybe down the line, or maybe even farther. Maybe
Not like
10,000.
You're the son of my uncle.
Yeah. Say, oh yeah, Uncle Joe, right? Yeah.
Joe Harkonnen.
Yeah.
At your service.
If anything, like we in-laws because of Jessica. It's
But
weird.
they're not married.
No, but
Yeah.
that's his daughter. That's,
They're related
that's
to
Vladimir's daughter.
They're related to Mr.
Yeah.
But does he know that that's his daughter?
I don't know.
I mean,
Like,
I think so. He looked at.
he
saw
looked at the baby,
there.
but maybe like he had the baby and they kind of like shipped her away.
There's-
So maybe he had no
there's
idea.
there's some stuff that happened or like that's found out only like I guess in like future books, but I won't spoil it
yeah.
as to
Okay,
the,
no
the
spoilers.
ratio of it. But
I need to read the books.
yeah, I mean
I've seen it.
the first three are cool, and then the fourth one gets kind of bonkers, and then everything else is
bonkers.
read at your own
Peril.
risk.
not risk, I guess, or read at your own
Discretion.
discretion. Yeah. So
But
yeah, that fight
Back
sequence.
to that sequence.
Yeah, like it's funny because we talk about things that are shortened up.
It's like 15 minutes.
Anthony made a really cool point where at first I was like, man, the whole revenge of Gurney Halleck with Raban was really short.
Yes.
I was like, man, that's really short. It's
I
just like, parry, dodge, throat slice.
But I feel like
it wasn't even a parry dodge. He
he just moved.
Yeah,
and
he
stabbed
moved
him.
away
Like
from
he
the
just-
whip.
It looked
And
like
then
the
he
knife
just, like,
cut.
stabbed him.
It looked like the knife parried
right.
the whip and raked it a little bit,
just-
and then he
that
got.
goes-
I think
the
he
whip.
maybe kind of smacked
Yeah.
it down.
I feel
maybe
like
did that, but
It was mainly done quickly because they knew that they were gonna have the 1v1 fight.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to just do like 2 1v1
hey,
fights
look,
like so
two
quickly.
back to back.
Look, man,
knife
give it
fights
20
would've been
And the
sick.
thing is,
No, for sure.
and if you think
But-
about it, like
We're nerds, give it to
Batista, used to be a wrestler, and I'm sure
Yeah.
he could have been able to do some good choreography.
Or maybe they cut
And Josh Brolin has also been in movies that he's had to do good choreography in it too. So if they actually like spent time and said, okay, you guys are gonna take like 30 seconds to a minute of like hand-to-hand combat, it might have actually looked even better than a Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to
hand-to-hand combat.
upstage it.
Right.
Yeah.
Even though what we got with Timothy Chalamet and Austin Butler was
Yeah, dude. Oh,
very impressive.
Fade Rotha hit the what I call like the leaping sidekick twice because that's the first kick he hits Raban with. Which, by the way, it's a cool little scene I like where he's just like, "You're humiliating me, cousin," or like
brother.
brother, and then like,
No, I think
They're brothers.
sorry, yeah, they're
Oh, they're brothers?
They're brothers, yeah,
Oh, that was cousin.
yeah, because they're both nephews of the
Everyone's a
Baron.
cousin.
So, like he kicks him, he does that sidekick, kicks him in the chest, and he's like, "Kiss my feet," like a la show enough.
Smacks his head on the floor.
Yeah, smacks his head on the floor. I was like, yeah, my bitch. Yeah. So he does the same thing again to Paul. Like he finds the opening and just kicks him right in the side. It's like, okay, like that's his go-to move.
Paul does like this flip, like side flip.
So
The first
unnecessary.
time we watched that, Anthony is
was like-
unnecessary. Like, no,
I was
that's
like unnecessary but cool. Like,
No,
why
was
did you
cool.
do like a 720 spin in midair for
He
no
has
reason?
presence. He has presence. He can totally like foresee that I'm gonna do this flip and it's gonna work.
No, man.
Yeah, he saw the fight before. That's how he knew he needed to win by
He knew
having to flip.
he knew that in this
Speaking-
instance, if I do this spin,
I'm gonna win.
I'm gonna win.
Speaking of seeing the fight before, earlier in the movie, I was telling Zach, I was like, oh, there's a sequence where you see when he stabbed
Yeah.
Fate right in the chest.
Mm-hmm.
Like you see
there's,
just
there's
that-
a snippet
you
of
just
it.
see the dagger.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
that's-
dagger and
the
like
snippet
obviously
is
his
there.
chest.
Yeah.
Which that was pretty cool. Seeing it the second time, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Didn't protect his chest.
Yeah, Fade Rotha needed to protect his chest. He's trying to go in for like the stab. I'm just like, homie, like he's already stabbed once. You got to go in there and like knock him down and do something wild.
But he still got him in the shoulder, though.
Yeah, but
He got
you
him
know,
twice, but
it's not like the Batman shoulder where you die by getting shot there. but he got stabbed, so he's okay. It wasn't actually that deep, surprisingly
No.
enough. It wasn't that deep.
Well,
of a
he
stab.
controlled it because he was like holding the dagger and kind of like moved it so it would go into his shoulder.
so that
Yeah,
he can
that
so that
hurt.
so that
Well, the
so that
sound
he
effect,
so
man.
that he
Well,
did
Because the sound effect
switcheroo.
of Fade Rotha like moving it forward and like, obviously cutting like his hand
Yeah.
while he's moving it forward. It was like,
well, and then him also like breathing hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, because
Yeah.
'Cause
he
there's-
still had the knife,
Yeah.
like here on his side.
And here there's no music either.
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
silent.
It's all
pure,
It's just pure
grunting
slap,
and
slap,
like
slap.
fight
Cut-
sequence.
And we get the we get the thing too where Paul kind of betrays where his heart lies. Because the whole idea of just like, oh, he's looking back at Chani and he's like, oh, that's your little pet. And just like, okay,
Sounding
I know
more
your
like
weak
Stellan
point.
Skarsgård.
It's just like that's not your weak point. at all.
Well, right before the fight, he told the Emperor, he's like, well, I'm going to take your daughter's hand in marriage.
Yeah.
And Chinese like, what? Even though beforehand, Paul is just like, hey,
I love
no matter what, I love you more than anything in this world.
Wait, he said
you as long
that
as I
for
breathe.
sure, just because he knew what he
Yeah,
was
because
going
he
to
needed
do
to
next.
do. I don't think she really understood the magnitude of
She
what
doesn't.
all this really means.
She doesn't know about the Game of Thrones.
And being the emperor of the known universe.
In the first movie and earlier in this movie, they do hint that he was gonna
Yeah,
take
make a
his
play
hand
for it.
and make a play for the throne by marrying
That's the
daughter.
idea. Yep. That is the idea. And
But, man, the choreography for that
It was quick,
fight sequence was
quick fight.
oh yeah,
super
sequences
quick.
too.
It was almost like Winter Soldier, but
Yeah.
like amped up.
amped up and with no
Cutting.
jump cuts. Like
There was a few, but not enough.
Good
You
enough
get-
to-
not enough
yeah.
where it was distracting.
Yeah.
And also they were cutting good points because they had staging areas like where you can make the cut, like when Fade
When he
Rotha goes for
does the
the and also the sweep.
Yeah.
sweep the
when he
leg?
swept the leg, like he doesn't know what that is. Damn it, Zach! You don't know what sweep the leg
It's
means.
an 80s movie.
But
But what's good is that, like, even though in those few times that they cut, I'm sure at some point there's stunt doubles, but for a lot of it, it's them
It
two.
looks
It's
like
the two
them, yeah.
actors that I'm sure they trained long and hard for that choreography. So it's like, that's the difference. Like when you can see the two actors going at it and it's like they're going that fast, it's like, I don't know how long it took them to do that, but it looked believable and it was very, very well done.
Very intense.
yeah,
Yes.
and he finally gets the win. What do all the Fremen do?
But
That
it
was
was
awesome.
But it was perpetrated by what's his face?
By Stilgar? Yeah. that's
Like right after he stabs him, and then Fedorasa just like falls. He's not gonna leave. Like, oh my god! Like, I don't know if they meant for that to be funny, but it was
the
hilarious.
Emperor's entourage is just like ninja. And what's great too, remember beforehand when finally I'm Muad'Dib, psych, I'm Paul Atreides, like you messed up my dad and everything else, and it's great how like the Reverend Mother behind rolls through. She's like, "Oh, silence!" And he uses the voice on her, and she's like, "Oh," like
She got pushed back, and she's
Yeah.
like, and then she goes, "Abomination."
Which weirdly in the book, that's what they like reference to what his sister like is technically, because like, oh, she's preborn, it's an abomination. But like
I like
that was cool. She's like like it's like it was enough where like you heard the timbre of the voice where normally it's like it's not freaky but it's so forceful, you're like, oh man,
Like,
he's
he
finally done
mastered it.
It's done. Yeah, he's mastered it.
And then I like how both Reverend Mothers like communicate
Acknowledge each
without
other.
talking.
Yeah, they use their
that's-
telepathy.
That was pretty cool.
And then at that
They're
point,
both like
She-
OP,
she
and
calls-
they're just like,
Yeah.
She calls Lady Jessica
Reverend Mother, yeah. Or so at the very end, where as Paul's finally like defeated Fade Rotha, he goes to the Emperor and like,
oh,
dude, that scene is
With the ring.
kiss the ring.
rough.
Dude.
He's like, yeah, like now kiss my ring, and he's holding it for like a few
Couple
seconds.
and he
The stomp,
stomps.
dude. The stomp, at least in
In-
both Dolby and IMAX, that stomp was like the
You
loudest
felt it.
thing. That's the loudest thing.
And like Chalamet's acting there, just like,
Yeah.
it's
He's
time.
like, you
Like,
better kiss this ring.
you know what, if you know what's good for you. And that was even the point where Irulan's like, "Oh, take it, okay, I'm married. Just don't kill my dad."
Yeah, she's like, don't kill him. He's like, fine, but I'm gonna humiliate him.
Yeah, I'm gonna humiliate him, like kiss my ring, and he does like the not kiss. He's like, I don't want to do it.
And
It's
then
great. Christopher
that's
Walken, man, great stuff.
and then that's the moment when they tell Paul like, oh, they got your message.
Yeah,
The
the
other
message.
house.
Yeah, because the other house is
got
like,
your
hey,
message.
like they need to hear my story. Like I'm actually the person in charge. And other stuff.
actually don't.
They don't believe
agree.
you, and they think you're bluffing, and that you'll blow up the spice fields.
Yeah.
And then the whole thing was there's like when in the council rallying everything like, oh, we'll take you to a green paradise. We're
Yeah.
gonna make
He's
Dune
like,
a
lead
green
them
paradise.
to paradise.
And so it's like, okay, fine. They want war, then they have war. And Chinese like, this is too much.
Yeah, because I think his word or his line word for word is it send them to paradise?
Yeah.
Lead
Yeah,
them to
lead
Or
them.
lead them to
Yeah,
paradise.
Stilgar's like, what do you want to do? It's just like, hey, and you can tell he's just like
Okay.
regretful in it, and but knowing that it's like, yep, this is the prophecy. Like this is what needs to be done. And he looks just like, Just lead them to paradise, and they're all like they're hyped up, like Fremen on spaceships. Oh no, like this is probably now the strongest army in the known universe, and now like they're only confined to Arrakis. Now they're hopping around to other places. Now the crap's about to hit the fan. And, that's when we get, like, the whole building up. The score keeps going again. Lady Jessica's looking out, like, all right, this is happening. Like, we're setting up a plan. We're starting the Holy War. Paul's just kind of already resigned, just like, damn it, like, that I couldn't escape this prophecy. And then Chani's the one actually able to kind of escape and still choose her own free will. Like, nah, I'm not part of this.
And it ends with her waiting to... ride the sandworm.
Ride on a sandworm, yeah.
Well, even before that, because Lady Jessica was talking to the baby.
Alia, yeah.
Now you can hear Alia's voice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which that was cool.
That was really cool.
By this
Because then you know who
She's
it
almost
is.
there.
And then,
Yeah.
And then you...
That was a cool little cameo act. I was like, all right, cool for you.
They announced that she was going to be in the movie. They just
Yeah,
I didn't. I stayed away from
They
that.
never
news.
announced
They
it?
did announce it.
I knew
about that.
I never knew about that.
Yeah, because I'm like when I saw her show up, I'm like, okay, I was kind of surprised, but also I remember they said something about her being in the
They
movie.
never announced her being in the movie, but when the premiere came out, she showed up at the premiere, and then they announced it there.
No, I heard about that
Oh.
like a year
Yeah.
ago.
Anthony was in the know. I was trying to stay away from stuff.
I heard it a while back.
Because I was like, oh, what if it's going to be too similar to the book? What if it's too different? I was like, I'm just
It was
gonna
one of those like, oh,
stay away.
so and so was cast in an undisclosed role kind of thing. Like,
The thing is, like, I heard, like, around the same time, I heard that she was in it, and that Leo Seydoux was in it, and there was someone else that I remember they said.
it was probably Florence or...
I think it was
something
Florence.
else.
Like, it was like when they were doing, like, kind of like their first go-around of announcing who's in it.
Yeah.
Well, initially,
I remember
it was
saying...
Austin Butler and Florence Pugh. Those are the only ones I'd always hear.
I
Austin Butler,
remember
Florence Pugh.
seeing either in an article or in a YouTube video that was like, oh yeah, these people are in it too. And then kind of sucks also that the trailers spoiled that Gurney's in it because he comes in
He's presumed
midway
dead.
through the
Yeah.
movie.
That would have been a cool surprise.
Yeah.
Right,
Like, I
you
knew
think
it,
he's dead, but
yeah.
like they showed in the trailer, like, oh, I guess he's alive, and
I knew it
the
from the
reasoning for him
lore,
being alive is
yeah.
kind of weird. I'm like, oh, whatever, he's cool, but
I like how like they a couple of cool things they have about character building. Like obviously still Gar's fanaticism. Gurney Halleck playing the little like lute instrument. When like, remember in part 1, he's teaching him like fighting and like more like, oh, you gotta go against Harkonnens. Mm-hmm. He's like, man, can you just like teach me how to play your cool instrument? He's like, no, you're gonna fight now. And then now he's there like making his still suit song, playing the little guitar with the smugglers, trying to smuggle the spice from under the Harkonnens. So that was really cool. And
but like what is, I don't know, I didn't get that whole part. Like I didn't understand how he survived for whatever 5 months or whatever.
Whatever fighting had happened in Arrakeen in part 1, he survived the fighting. He fought with Robin. He got a skull or whatever.
I understood
like he
that.
and Duncan's a fight. So what happened is he's it's explained more in the book, but he basically any survivors he smuggled them off world with those smugglers, and then he stayed behind.
Oh,
just to
okay.
hang
So they like
with
he
the
was
smugglers.
able to go to like back to Caladan or something.
No,
or?
he got people back to Caladan, but he
Okay.
stayed.
So he got a ship or something.
Like he was in charge in cahoots with people who had ships, which the whole reasoning of like they talk about spice, and the only thing we really see in the movies that Denis has made is like that spice helps you like with these people like with the latent telepathy or like able to see visions, but they're saying like spice is used to help people traverse the known universe. Like they don't show that the fact that like the people who pilot those freaky ships and all the other ships like they use spice to calculate the jumps into different points in space. So that's a whole thing.
That's
in the
why
books.
it's such a precious
And
resource.
it's like,
That's the only way to like
the only way to
space.
travel space because they have this whole thing where they don't use computers at all. Like you can't. There's a whole thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And he was the guy that was in the first movie. He was supposed to make a cameo in this movie.
Yeah.
but they cut it.
Through Fear
Oh
Hua.
yeah, that guy with when his eyes would roll
Through
back.
Fear- yeah, he's a mentat. Like he's the mentat of the family. Like that's like their living computer that walks around. Like okay, cool. I'm gonna calculate this. And so that happened.
Yeah, that's what he said.
They cut him, and then they cut I forget the actor's name from Holes and The Incredible Hulk and
Incredible Hulk.
the I forget his name. He's coming
Buster
back.
Scruggs.
He's coming back for
The
Thunderbirds.
ballad,
Yeah, that guy from that
the
movie.
ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Yeah. What's his name? That's the
Oh,
actor we're talking about.
you mean the guy who's Rorschach?
No.
No,
the main guy
No.
from that movie.
God, Tim Blake Nelson.
Tim Blake Nelson.
Is he in that
Yes.
movie? Buster Scruggs?
Oh, yes, he is.
Okay, so
Yes.
He also had a cameo apparently, or some kind of small minor role.
And
But
he's
they
like,
cut
And
it.
his scene was
The
cut too.
leader. Yeah,
And
that's
then
right.
Denny doesn't believe in
Deleted.
director's
Director's
cuts,
cuts.
and
Which
yeah,
I'm
I
okay with
respect
that.
that.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I respect it.
well, I mean, I'm fine without a director's cut, but I would like
yeah, it
to
would have
see
been
the
cool
deleted
to
scenes.
like put it on
at
like
least.
the Blu-ray or something like that.
Yeah,
Or
and
like, hey, here's
they
the
won't be
scene. It won't be
Like,
in the Blu-ray. But
I think
not, like-
everyone understands that like if you don't have a director's cut, that's fine. But if you put a deleted scene in like the DVD or Blu-ray, like they know that that's never gonna be like in the actual movie.
Part of the movie.
So like you could still do that and say like, yeah, it's not in the movie.
You know who does believe in various cuts of his work? Hans Zimmer.
I thought you were gonna say Zack Snyder.
No, that's a great
Say
segue.
Peter
That's a
Jackson.
kind of like before we we cap a.
score. Gonna win an Oscar again. That's it.
I hope
You
so.
might just
End
win
of
an Oscar for the
conversation.
score, man. Yeah, like
yeah, 100%.
Anthony has had a really interesting point. We were talking about it after we saw it in Dolby. How like
Yeah,
various other
'cause I paid
influences
attention
of
more to
Hans Zimmer, like
to the song, to the music.
and I think you guys would and the listeners would enjoy some of the little, like what his little takes of what he thinks some inspirations maybe came from.
Yeah, just like I mean, it's pretty well known that Hans Zimmer has like a certain sound, and some of his movies sound very similar. But even though they sound similar, they're still really good. Like Gladiator and Pirates sound very similar, and yeah, he has a certain sound. Recently, he's been changing things up a little bit in a couple of his movies, and he's been experimenting more. So I mean, I think I've liked all of Hans Zimmer's scores. But yeah, I really definitely between the first movie and this movie, the just like the main theme, kind of like that 2 or 3 note, like it's very reminiscent of parts of Gladiator, parts of even the Dark Knight. Dark Knight, he purposely only had like that 2 note, like the
Various two
Batman,
notes.
like and definitely, I remember some of the score from what's the fourth Pirates? Is that Dead Men Tell No
Stranger
Tales?
Tides.
Stranger Tides.
Stranger Tides.
Yeah, so there's a scene with the mermaids in that movie, and that's like one of his long songs in that soundtrack. It's like a 8-minute song or something like that, and
Jeez.
that song alone sounds a lot like the theme from Dune. So I feel like he's like, I'm gonna take the past like 15 years of scores and kind of like jumble them up, and then here's Dune, and then he wins an Oscar for Dune. So it's like I feel like it's kind of cool. It's like a mesh of his previous works, and then he just like completely creates like, I think people have said it before, kind of like the soundscape that like you just feel like this is the music of Arrakis. Like you feel like you're in the desert with these people. It's very cool. But yeah, I mean, if there's no other huge movie this year that has like a crazy score, like I
Yeah,
think
like an
this will-
identifiable
Yeah, I think-
character in its music.
I think
yeah.
it's hands down. This will definitely win. I mean, Dune will probably get a lot of nominations. At least for
I
next.
mean, Dune 1 got a lot of
Yeah, it
wins,
did.
too.
So yeah, it's very possible that Dune may sweep a bunch of awards. Definitely, probably like the technical awards, like sound mixing and all that. But yeah, I mean, wouldn't be surprised if it got nominated. Wouldn't be surprised if it won for best score. Fantastic. Re-listen to Gladiator. Re-listen to Pirates. Re-listen to The Dark Knight. So
Listen to Lion King even.
Lion King with the chantings.
Yep.
But yeah,
Yeah,
the
man.
music of this movie is fantastic.
And even when there's no music in this,
Even
it's
when there's
still
no
fantastic.
music, I think it's even with no music, it ends up making the actual music that
much better.
That much better.
There's
yes.
times where there's no music, but there's like whispers, which is part of the score.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's usually when it has to do with the Bene Gesserit. I think
Yeah.
that's like sort of
Cool.
part of their theme. It's like little
It's
whispers in the
their motif,
background.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or like the whispering of like the sand
sand.
itself moving as part of the music. Like that's dope.
Shifting,
Like
yeah.
the shifting sand.
He's done whispers in other scores of his. Some of them didn't work out so well, but some of them did. Like like the electro song from
Oh,
Amazing Spider-Man 2. It's like part of that song is really cool, and then other part is like maybe you didn't need that section with like I guess like the inner monologue of electro going throughout the whole song. But anyway, I digress. The score is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, typical Hans Zimmer goodness.
Go and listen to Hans Zimmer's music. I don't know if it's still there, but on Netflix for a while there was one of these live Hans Zimmer concerts that he does in Europe. If it's still on there, watch it. I think it's like 2.5 hour concert. It's amazing. If it's not on there, look it up. Maybe it might be on another streaming service. I think it's called Hans Zimmer Live in Prague. Maybe.
No, it's not on there
Rip.
at the moment.
But if it's not, look for it. I'm sure you could find parts of it on YouTube or all of it on YouTube. But yeah, it's very, very cool. I want to see it someday.
And then what's actually really cool and interesting is it's been we're recording this after it's been just the first official weekend that it came out, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So after seeing this come through, we are getting initial like box office totals. So hopefully word of mouth and premium seating and premium tickets keep this going on. I think it hasn't released in China yet, so that's going to be a decent sized market that's going to go through. And if it maintains it, they're looking like Warner Brothers has a pretty strong blockbuster.
Did the first one come out in China?
I'm not sure. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know.
Because I know they have very strict rules of certain things that can be in movies that they show. So I don't know if maybe they have a thing against worms.
It's a thing against
You
worms.
laugh, but I've heard some of the things that they're
As long as there's
specific
nothing about Winnie the Pooh, then you're okay.
they don't show movies with anything that has to do with ghosts.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's correct. But anyway,
I would think probably like more like the religious aspects would be maybe like
Maybe
not even the religious aspect. It's just, and also you can't show anything that acknowledges Tibet. That's totally a thing. But anyway, luckily this is in outer space, in the weird, wild future. Anyway,
I mean, there's
Danny,
Mongolian throat singing. I don't know.
that's just there's also bagpipes in the music in the first.
Well, that's the Atreides theme, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Atreides.
And we get it very briefly
Yep.
during like the final fight, which is badass.
But
That's right. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
it's so cool. Like you get the with the
like
bagpipe.
a mix of everything.
Yeah, it's like all the themes at once, and they're like, "This is
So
amazing."
good.
It's like 15 minutes of amazingness. Why wasn't it longer?
So with the box office opening weekend domestically, it made 82.5 million,
Not bad.
which pretty solid. The first one
decent.
was around 40 something million, so it doubled.
Nice.
Nice.
And this one was not also on
HBO Max.
Max day and day release, and no pandemic, I guess. So, and worldwide, it made 178 million,
Okay.
which pretty solid start. It's pretty much made its budget,
Budget's what, 190 or something?
like 180, 190.
Yeah. So we just need the next one up, and then hey.
And just seeing how the premium formats have been sold out or like close to selling out.
Well, pretty much every like interview from I guess like the actors or the directors, and then watching a lot of YouTube videos of people who are like reviewing the movie. Everyone that has talked about the movie has said, "Watch this in the
In
biggest
IMAX or
thing you
Dolby,
can see
yeah.
possible." Like everyone has said that.
Well,
so,
even just from us, like
Yeah, word
when
of
we've
mouth.
seen it in IMAX or Dolby, it's been pretty full.
yeah,
And except for when I saw it in a regular format, it wasn't really. That
but what
full.
day of the week did you see it?
It was a Friday.
Oh.
It was opening day,
Oh, well, what time?
8:00
PM.
p.m. But it was a non-premium format
Damn.
Because everybody was in the
because everyone was in the IMAX
I mean,
one.
like at least for us, like we have A-list, and so if Dolby or IMAX is available, like that's what I'm gonna choose. Like
Obviously,
like
yeah, you're gonna want
ever
to see
since
the
we've had
premium
IMAX, not IMAX, A-list, I feel like the standard digital showing is like the last thing on my list to choose.
Yeah, you'll always choose an IMAX or Dolby.
like essentially I only do the standard digitals if it's like a movie that's been out for 2 months and it's a movie I want to see. I just haven't seen it yet. Or like this weekend, I'm probably gonna watch one of the Oscar-nominated movies. They're obviously not gonna be in Dolby or IMAX because it'll either be Dune or Kung Fu Panda. But yeah, so it's like it's weird because before that's all we used to have, and then now it's like it's like last on my list. Let me get Prime.
But I mean, at least that's
Dolby
good
Prime,
momentum.
right? They call it Dolby Prime in some places.
At least it gives a good momentum for this week. Curious to see what the numbers will be, like how much it'll drop. But obviously, those premium formats do give it a bigger boost in
solid
sales.
boost. Again, worth it. Like I know it's gonna be
For
for
sure.
$6-7 your movie ticket, but it is absolutely worth it. Like all in all, like
Don't you want to feel like you're actually on that worm?
we're actually on Arrakis. Like you want to feel the heat. You want to feel all the other random.
Gotta get that
Stuff from
popcorn bucket, man.
You gotta get the Dune bucket, and then you gotta get the blue. The blue icy,
Yeah.
the blue icy inside the worm bucket.
The worm juice.
That's it. That's
Dude,
the ultimate combo, right?
Honestly, I
I'm
didn't
in
think
it.
about that.
Yeah, but good luck finding the popcorn bucket. It's sold out.
Just to give you some context, currently, for this weekend, which is the weekend of March 8th, Friday, March 8th, Dune 2 for this whole weekend is not sold out yet at the Fort Lauderdale IMAX, which is surprising because last year when Oppenheimer was out, Oppenheimer was selling out left and right
For a while.
every weekend. Oppenheimer did so well in this IMAX theater that
They brought it back.
like 3 times
Yeah.
throughout until like January. Even
Yeah,
January they brought
make
it
it-
back
make that
because
money.
when it got nominated for Best Picture, they're like, let's bring it back for one more week, and it
sold
kept
out
getting
again,
sold out.
probably,
Yeah,
yeah.
so it's like, so I think that movie definitely put that IMAX theater like on the map for people to go watch.
Yeah.
So it's kind of surprising to me that like this one isn't sold out yet.
Maybe as we get closer, but
Well, because isn't that one the only one in Florida?
It's
One of two.
I think
at
like
least South Florida for sure.
yeah, I mean, I think there's one in Orlando, maybe Tampa as well, but there's so many different variations of IMAX. This one in Fort Lauderdale has like, I think it has like the laser, and it also has a certain aspect ratio that not all, like most other ones have. But there's other ones, I think like in New York or California, that have like an even bigger screen, and they have different aspect ratios. So supposedly there are some in, I think either in the US, maybe even in the world, that got an actual 70 millimeter print of it. The one for Lauderdale does not have it.
No, it's all.
It's a digital version, but only 12 of them, I think, in the US have that 70 millimeter print. So I don't know where that's at, but it's not a Fort Lauderdale.
Wait, wasn't the one like you mean like the actual?
Yeah, like the 70. It's like actually 70 millimeter film versus
No,
most.
this one had it. The Fort Lauderdale had it.
No,
Not-
Fort Lauderdale has the IMAX version of the movie, but it's the digital IMAX. It's not the film
Well,
version.
because when I saw it before the show, the guy was saying how we have a projectionist. They had like a specialized projectionist up there, making sure that everything is going well with the film going through.
No, they have to. Like all of
Yeah.
like all of their films have physical film that they have to like put on there. But Oppenheimer 100% in Fort Lauderdale had the full 70. Is it 700? Yeah, 700 millimeter. But for this movie, it's not. It still looks great, and it still changes
You're
the
talking
aspect
about
ratio.
Dune.
Yeah, I'm talking about.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
homie.
thought you were talking
No.
about Oppenheimer.
No,
I'm
Oppenheimer for
talking
about-
sure
Oh, sorry.
had
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
but
yeah, dude.
but apparently it's
Sorry.
like I think Denis Villeneuve said only
Pay
12,
attention.
12 in the US have the Dune version of the 70
need some
millimeter,
spice. Yeah.
700 millimeter.
You need some spice in your life,
That's a
Mikey.
lot of technical
That you
talk.
trip out.
It's pretty much me saying like I'm checking it now. It's not sold out, and so if you live in the Miami Fort Lauderdale area,
I kind of want to go.
You
100%.
should.
It's
Recommended.
for now. It's gonna be showing at that theater up until I'm scrolling on this site up until Wednesday, March 27th. So you essentially have a whole
So,
month.
yeah,
you have a whole
I've
nother
got
month
like
to
3
go
more
up
weeks,
and watch it.
It's time.
Highly
I'm gonna
recommend.
try. I'm
Even
gonna
if you've
try.
seen it already, highly recommend you take another day,
Yeah.
spend your time, spend your money, just so you can see the difference. And if you like the movie anyways enough to watch it again, you'll definitely enjoy watching it.
You'll
this
find
way.
things you'll
Yeah.
appreciate it more. The movie was so good watching it on IMAX. When I got home and actually sat on my chair, I like pulled my neck because like holy crap, it was like just moving, just being able to see all the shots like that sequence in the beginning where the Harkonnen troops are going up. I was like, whoa, you're going up, and like the
that was
sense of
an
scale,
IMAX too?
yeah, like
It might actually be good. Like if it still doesn't get sold out, then you might have more of an opportunity to get a better seat, like a good seat, so you can have like optimal viewing.
yeah, our seats were okay, like they weren't the greatest, but they weren't
if we went like
bad.
2 rows up, we would have been perfect. But we still had pretty good seats.
Yeah, it's
I might go again because I want to go with my family. My parents saw the first movie, so I think I'm gonna try to force them to.
I think I'm
to
just
go
gonna
down to Fort Lauderdale.
Go
Yeah.
again. It's too good.
Because I mean, at this point, I'm going to be watching it at least 2 more times if I decide to go there.
Yeah, you got to catch up to Danny.
Because I'm planning to go this weekend again, Dolby this time.
Nice.
Again.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. Usually, I reserve my Fort Lauderdale IMAX viewing for Nolan movies because he's usually one of the only directors that utilizes it. So aside from Oppenheimer, this is like probably the only other movie for the next couple of years that might actually like utilize the big screen. So I would say go Dune it.
Yeah. Speaking of doing it,
Do it.
you
She said
know,
it in this movie.
Yeah.
She totally went Palpatine in this movie.
Yeah, she Palpatine Chani.
Do it.
Oh, Jessica. Anyway, with that being said, do you have to be compelled by the voice to see this movie, or are you going with your own free will and taking part in the spice? That's my way of saying, do you recommend it or not?
A 100% yes, and even if the voice is forcing you,
Just accept it.
just accept it. Just do it.
It's yours. Just do it. Yeah.
I think collectively we all agree, like, go watch this movie.
Yeah, watch the first one. Like, Max is gonna keep it for a while if you need to see it at home. Like, the best thing to do is like watch it and then give yourself a little bit of a break and then go immediately watch it
Yeah, that's
in a premium format. That's the best way to do it.
Yeah, rewatching it like 2 days before I went.
It's awesome.
It's
a very cool, like, bookended experience. Very, very cool stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I think acting from everyone top notch.
Literally everyone
Yeah.
was on their A game.
And totally different performances
Yeah,
too.
and it was great seeing, like, you got more of it, so we see more of the Fremen culture, like when they were taking Jamis's body and taking the water and putting it into that collective like grave of everyone's water. Like that was
Like the
like, cool to see
pool,
it
yeah.
in real life, and like, oh, there's beaches all over that have that. It's like, we won't drink, and we won't
Even if
drink this
we're,
even if
like-
we're dying of thirst. We won't
Yeah.
drink this water. And
cool world building for like
Mhm.
Very
these
cool.
cultures and
yeah,
like
the
different
Harkonnens,
people.
even like with the Emperor Shaddam and Irulan, more of just like other things going on. So like, if we get a sequel with Dune Messiah, we're definitely going to see some more things that go off on that. So until whenever that may be, we'll still be out here recommending other movies, other TV shows too. And that takes us over to Danny, because next is your pick for a recommendation, right?
Yeah, so it's been a while since we continued with our picks because we've got sidetracked here with a couple movies. But I'm excited to have you guys watch this one because I know I've bragged about it a couple times.
Oh, really?
So the movie I'm recommending this week is going to be Talk to Me.
Ooh. Okay.
A horror
Oh, the
movie.
horror movie.
Yeah. Finally, I got a chance to see it. I keep just earlier today.
I blanked out. I thought it was like a Ricky Martin movie because of the song she bangs. Don't worry about it.
Totally.
That's how the song
tied
starts.
into that.
That's how the song starts.
With the freaky hand. No.
Is that the song they play at the end of the movie?
Sure.
Oh,
No.
What a wasted opportunity.
But yeah, I'm excited to have you guys watch it just because I've bragged about it a lot.
Yeah, you really have. It was in your top.
It was in my top three.
Three of last year.
Last year.
They're making a sequel.
Yeah, they're doing
Yeah,
Talk
to Me.
God, dude.
It's so good.
It's a hand giving you a peace sign. So.
Although right now it's not streaming anywhere. Would have to rent it or buy it, but we could all check it out. And
So if I don't show up to that podcast episode, then something wrong happened.
I have no idea what that means.
I don't know what that means.
So-
I'm just assuming there's some form
well,
of
watch the movie. and we'll
possessions
see.
that go on in this movie.
Exactly. All right. Cool.
And to spice it up, it's you see what I did there?
Nice.
It's a good way to bring in some horror movies in because we don't really talk much about horror, but this is a good one to discuss. So
I mean, I'm personally I don't like horror movies because I find them like kind of lame.
Well, you're
but-
gonna start.
Well, then that's
I
why you
guess.
were gonna
But
like this one apparently.
this is why curious to see your thoughts on this one.
You weren't creeped out by Jessica going like, "And we'll be waiting," like, and her like
That creepy old lady voice.
It was like the old lady voice, but then she's also like speaking for her and the baby.
Yeah, it's
She's
like three
"We'll be
voices in one.
waiting."
Yeah, I think that was like a combination of both the voices.
That's great.
Gosh, she's so
I love
good.
that. Damn it.
She's so good. in this
Rebecca
movie.
Ferguson, give her her
Everybody,
flowers.
dude.
Everyone is so good. Man, that's great. And if everyone listening, you thought it was also great, we'd love to hear some of your takeaways and things you really enjoyed about the movie. Or if you haven't seen it yet, like, hey, what's all the fuss about? Go ahead, reach out to us. We're over on all our social medias and their Popcorn Watchlist. We love to keep the conversation going. As you can tell, we freaking love this movie. Share your favorite Stilgar memes. We would love to see what you found is hilarious when it comes to finding out he is
Way
the
too
son
many
of
memes.
Gayubs. Like, dude, they're great.
We should post some.
It is written.
As it is written.
as written.
It's,
We should definitely post some.
it's too good. So we'd love to keep the conversation going, as I said before. And once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And we will see you next time when we will talk to you.